Hey, what is going on, guys? The SS Ultimate Goku back in another video to talk about the Aang and Katara, you know, ship that is canon, uh, and what it actually means, because you know, I hear so many people always talk about how um, Zuko and Katara should have gotten together. And I just think that's absolutely ridiculous, first of all. Like, I mean, have you guys not watched the series like I have? Okay, I just don't get it. I don't get it. I don't get the fan base for it. I don't get the thing. But I don't get why people are so still, to this day, infatuated with that ship. Um, Aang and Katara was clearly the better ship. It was clearly made. It was a more sensical ship. Um, and I hear so many people like I've seen some of the arguments. The arguments is like, oh well, you know, look what they were doing towards the end. With the Zuko and the Katara. At the end there, they had that final boss fight with Zula. Um, you know, she got help from Zuko because of the what's it called? The She got help from she got help or Katara got help from Zuko to take out the person who killed her mother. Um, though she didn't end up killing him, but you get the point though. They bring up these stuff, but then they also don't bring up the fact that Katara also got betrayed by Zuko and nearly killed the Avatar. Okay, he didn't actually kill him, but Azula almost did, and it was because of Zuko's actions which almost allowed this to happen. Um, and yeah, they eventually, make up and, whatnot, but that doesn't mean that the two were interested in each other. And, Katara and Aang was more plausible. They had been there from the beginning, and it's not like it wasn't coming. They had the kiss, um, in the cave, which we didn't see, but you get it. They had that right before they invaded the Fire Nation on the the solar eclipse. Um, they did the solar eclipse, and they kissed. They had the fortune teller at the beginning of the season, or at the beginning of the series. I mean, there were so many things, and then this whole thing. Oh well, he was 12, and she was 14. It's like, really? Yeah, literally he was 12, but I mean, I know he was 112. Psychologically, from the again, physically, by age number he was, but he wasn't because he was frozen in time, so he never aged. So he was still 12. Um, but this whole like, oh, it should have been those two, and I'm like, no, this was absolutely the right ship. I've been there too because there were, they didn't in Bleach they didn't do Ichigo and Rukia, and they didn't do Naruto and Sakura, which were better ships than the ones that did become canon. But I mean, with this one though, there really isn't really a debate. Sakura, or not, god dang it, Katara and Aang um, made more sense. It made more sense. And, Katara being with Zuko would have been stupid too, because when you think about it, he was going to become the fire, lord, right? And that would have taken away from Katara, and Katara, you, you know, as her being her own, self. With Aang, it doesn't really overshadow it because Aang never looked at it that way. Um, of being the Avatar's, wife. They had been with each other thick and thin. Aang was the one that kind of helped Katara right from the beginning with the water bending stuff. Of course, ended up being her. She ended up being his teacher, as we would later find out. Um, and the story was much better, and it was planned that way from the beginning. It was always planned for those two to be together. Mike and Brian executed a really good story for those two to get together without not at the same time taking away from the other stuff. I mean, there were various episodes where the two would just, kind of not be intimate like that. There was also the episodes where, Katara was interested in Jet at one point. So they kind of, the writing style of Avatar was very well done. It's not like Legends of Korra, where Legends of Korra it was all over the place because Nickelodeon was screwing them around and they had to change and rewrite stuff. And they were inconsistent on who they wanted Katara to get, or not Katara, or Korra to get with. Korra was originally with Maka, and the Maka first was with, Asami, and that didn't all work out, and then they both end up getting with each other at the end. But with Katara and Aang, the writing was much better. And personally, I really wish, and I hope eventually they will get to address some of this stuff. But eventually, I want them to do something, whether it be in a comic book or it be a spin-off series where they actually show them as adults. We've seen flashbacks of them, but I want to actually see Aang and Katara, and I want to see like them all together as like adults, like maybe like building Republic City. We only got a few things here and there from like the first season on the history of Republic City, but I'd like to see them like go into depth on how that was created. And we kind of heard a couple of teasers from the comic books. If you've been following and reading the comic books that they've been doing, that they've kind of teased a couple of these things on what the origins are. But we haven't really got that much of an execution of everything else. And there's obviously other unanswered ships that still got to be answered. I mean, we still don't know who Toph's other. We still don't know who Toph's other boyfriend or acquaintance was. Since we know that Suin came from a different dad. But there's and with Sokka and all these other people, we still don't know that. Technically, we don't officially even know who Zuko's with. I mean, everyone almost assumes it's May now at this point, and it becomes even more clean by the point at the end of the last at one of the last comic books that recently came out. It was pretty much kind of hints at that, but there's a lot of unanswered ships that are in the series, and there's a lot of different unanswered stories that they could tell that I really wish they would tell. But I like that they went with this with the Aang and the Katara storyline. Of them being together. It was probably one of the more payoff moments at the end there. Because we knew they were together. I mean, if you really didn't know Aang and Katara was together by the kiss, the kiss, I'm talking about the one at the end there. Like, I mean, that's kind of crazy because, I mean, look at everything that they had done before that. They had kissed one time allegedly, and then they kissed each other again for real at the right before the first invasion, right? So I can't see how anyone could not have seen them not getting together by that point. I mean, it was blatantly obvious. It was blatantly obvious, and like this whole Zuko like thing, like Zuko's ship was already planned the moment they introduced May to the to the storyline. You know, it was kind of obvious at that point who it was going to be. You know, um, it was the best ship in the series, in my opinion. It still is. No matter who comes along or who gets confirmed as a ship or not, in these future comic books, um, it's the one. It's the best ship in the series, and it was the one that had the most development. It had the one that had the most sense. It was planned from the beginning, um, and I'm glad Mike and Brian did it. I'm glad they didn't change the plan. Like, cause like you see a lot of authors, they second guess themselves and they'll change the plans as they're mid through the storylines. Obviously, with Legends of Korra, the whole production was ruined because Nickelodeon kept screwing them around with, we're gonna get a next season time slot movie and going to Nick.com, having to do a cliffhanger episode and all that. But before they could make a definitive decision on Legends of Korra, but with Avatar, it was perfectly done. It was perfectly executed, and I wouldn't change it. I wouldn't change anything about that. I would like to see more stories, on how they built Republic City, how they, formed the original government that they had. Not the government that they have, and like in Legends of Korra, we seen a new government. The councilmen's, the forming of the councilmen's, because that's how they originally had that government for Republic City, before before the events of Legends of Korra, the first season, where they kind of had to get rid of that, and elect a president. But I'd like to see them do something like that. But yeah, guys, let me know what you guys think. Like I said, and Katara to me, I know they got a huge fan base for that Zuko Katara storyline, but I just don't see why. Storyline is so much better. Katara and Aang, it makes absolute sense. And when I hear people say that, oh, that's how it should be, and I'm like, no. If you actually watch the storyline, you watch how the development was, and you can unobjectively tell me that storyline would have been better, no, it wouldn't have been. Katara and Aang were meant for each other. The way it was set up, the way the story was written, I think it made absolute sense for those two to be together. And it was perfect. And it's one of my favorite ships because of the way it was set up, the way it was executed. They didn't do it in a way where it took away from the story. The story was still the story. They didn't do it in a way where it was kind of, it felt forced, because they took detours. There were episodes where Katara would be interested in Jet, for example, or whatever. They took, and, there would be episodes where Aang would just completely, not even, think of Katara. There were other episodes where Aang was, totally into Katara. But then there were other episodes where Aang was, totally not even acknowledging it. So it was perfectly executed in that sense, is where it didn't feel forced, even though they were, kind of setting it up that way. That is very, very good writing styles, and I think it was put in a way where, it's probably one of the better storylines and ships that you can have, where it doesn't totally take away from where they're trying to get at in a storyline. And that's another reason why I think it's one of the more successful series out there, too. It's becoming a real problem now in this day and age with how you write series now for forcing on ships, or what the agendas that they're trying to sell, to the audience. With Katara and Aang, it felt natural. It didn't feel like it was forced for the most part, and I think it's one of the better ships out there. And hopefully, in the future, we'll be able to see more of the explanations. Because that's what I really want to see. I want to see them do like something, when they were an adult. How do they execute as adults? Now that they are married and they're together, they have these kids. They're forming Republic City. They're forming all these laws. Nobody can bloodbend. Obviously, Katara's a bloodbender. Um, you know, that's the other thing. I was like, wait, is it Katara bloodbender though? She doesn't use it though. She doesn't use her bloodbending abilities. Uh, um, but it's still one of those things where it's like you would like to know though, like, hey, like, how did they come to this? How did they form all this? You know what I'm saying? Um, that's some of the stuff I would like them to see. I would like them to explore it more, and explore more of the adventures that they did later in life that we never get to see, really. We see a couple flashbacks, but that's really about it. Let me know what you guys think. What would you guys like to see? Other storylines that were not explained for Aang and Katara, and let me know what you guys think. Like I said, I think this is the best ship in Avatar, and probably one of the better most written ships out there. Let me know what you guys think. Comment, rate, if you like this video, my videos. Please subscribe if you're a new subscriber. Hit the notification bell for all the latest content, and subscribe. That's about it. I am the SS Ultimate Goku. I'm out of here. Peace!